welcome to another go-round of Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. There we go. Point and don't get your finger caught behind the logo. John, hear you there for the next hour. We're going to look at what happened yesterday in the GHSA playoffs, and we're going to break it all down. We got a couple of guests lined up. And, traditionally, when you have things and stories that have to go on a quick turn, you end up having to make a lot of early morning phone calls. And I made an early morning phone call up to Armuchee this morning, trying to track down somebody, and I was trying to figure out if Jason Park actually had a voice this morning. So let's find out if he does.
Good morning, John.
Morning. Do you have a voice?
I do. 30 years of coaching has well conditioned it over the years.
Oh, I heard that. So the reason that I stalked you was for obvious reasons. You got the medal. You got your pass around your neck. They let you back into the building after winning a championship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They certainly did, and this community showed up and showed out. We rolled in last night about 12:30, and we probably had 100, 200 people here in the parking lot going nuts. They were shooting fireworks and everything. It was a huge, huge deal for us here.
No, it's I think the first Floyd County title since 1971 in general, and you had to follow up what Model did on the girls' side, and you had to. What was it like watching Model on the girls' side, waiting for your moment over there at McEachern yesterday?
Well, it was you have so much pride. The communities here, while we are very, very competitive with one another, we are really, really. We really root for each other. So it was a lot of my guys know the kids from Model, and it was just great seeing them get to have that moment and to be able to watch your county and your community do things that doesn't happen every day. It was a little nerve-wracking. They put a lot of pressure on us by winning the title, and as soon as they cleared the field, we told their coaches, like, hey, we're coming to your side. This is the good luck side. So we made sure we jumped on that bench first.
When you and I have the bracket here in front of me, and I'm guessing that you probably have a bracket like this that you're probably going to have signed and put in a frame. Coming out of the left-hand side, team number 4, ranked number 4, playoff run. You handled Bleckley County. You beat Fitzgerald. Toombs came to your place, and then you had to go to Model to get to the title game to take on Thomasville. What was that stretch like where you had to play 3 in a week, where it was Fitzgerald coming to your place, Toombs coming to your place, and then going to Model? What was that stretch like to push through to get to the final?
Brutal. We had a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of injuries throughout the year, but there was one stretch during our regular season, John, where we had 6 starters down. We had to play a region game against a tough opponent. We found a way to win. So we have been used to adversity kind of all year long and next man up mentality. And Fitzgerald came in very, very physical. And both that game and the Toombs game, we had like a 3-4 hour rain delay in between. And that was kind of the running joke around here that something happened when on that rain delay that, we flipped that switch, and we ended up scoring quite a few goals on Fitzgerald. And then that Toombs game, wow, hats off to them, defending state champions from last year. And not only to have to go through them, but then you turn around and play the team that they beat in the finals, and our crosstown rival, the number 1 seed in the state going into the tournament. It was hard, but that our guys always rose to the occasion. They never backed down, and it's that we will play anybody, any place, anytime mentality that we have, and we just go out there and do what we do. And that's a good thing about this group. They really, really love to just hang out, be around each other, and play soccer. It's like watching a bunch of kindergartens in a class, playing with their favorite toy. That's just how this group of guys is.
Coming into this season on the whole, 15-5, you ran through region at 6-1, and you had a a bunch of different folks that contributed. But when you have somebody like your leading scorer in DeHart, who's just like far and away what you got, what was it like to see him continue to grow into the senior that he was, where I think he wrapped up with 35 and 9 on the year?
Yes, sir. Gabe he plays with his emotions on his sleeve. That kid has been playing this game for years and years and years, and he's the type of player that is built for that moment. Like I said, I've coached a long time. I've had some good players, but he is one of those that always will stand out as that special guy. Like last night going into the game, the two previous games, he'd kind of been down on himself a little bit because he hadn't scored like he normally does. And I told him, I said, Gabe, it's hard to score when people focus on you and make plans for you. I said, but your moment's going to come. And then, last night before we go in, me and him got to have a little moment. And I said, hey, buddy, I need you to put the ball in the back of the net tonight, okay? It's going to take a couple of goals from you tonight. And, boy, I tell you what, he delivered big time.
You're up 1-0. You're down 2-1. And this kind of goes into the back and forth nature of this match here. You're up 1-0. You're down 2-1. And then Gabe gets that equalizer to make it 2-2. And then 19 to 20 to go. Gabe scores again to make it 3-2. And then you end up with chaos for that final 20. Yeah. What was that final 20 like for you on the sideline?
I think I ran out of blood pressure medicine way too early. We went in at halftime and just kind of regrouped and had a reality check as far as, guys, we started this game with a game plan. We're not executing it well. Hats off to Thomasville's that number 7 and number 11, Gio, I think was his name, and I can't remember the other young man's name, but they were absolutely phenomenal. And we had to make sure we had a plan for both of those guys because we knew if they got it, and they did. They kept, anytime we answered, they would come back and they would have an equalizer or whatever. And, we just knew that we had to possess the ball and keep it out of their hands. And the best way to keep them from scoring was to possess the ball and move it around and take our shots when we had them.
Yeah, and you mentioned taking shots. 25 shots, 15 on target, and Connor Pringle for Thomasville had 11 saves on the night.
Yeah.
The clock's running down. You've got the lead. You're out of heart. You're out of heart medication.
Yeah.
Blood pressure medication on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Clock finally hit 0 after 80 minutes. How long did it take for it to sink in that it was the first time that Armuchee had gotten a state title in anything other than, say, cross country or wrestling?
Yeah. Even this morning. This morning, you still kind of, it's a very surreal moment. I'm not an emotional guy, except when you start talking about my guys. And then, I was thankful that I was able to at least speak and talk to them after the game. And there were tears of joy just because of all that we've went through and had to go through. And yeah, it was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. You wanted it so bad for your kids, your community, and seeing all our fans in the stands. And it was relief. It was relief that we finally finished what we started. And that's kind of been our MO all year long, finish what you start.
Darlington had won a boys title. They tied for the state championship back in 71, first for a soccer team in the Floyd County area. Since then, Jason Park, the head coach at Armuchee, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes. I know I'm keeping you from lunch, and you get the chance to hide and answer questions here. So you got in, say, 12 or 1. You got back to campus about 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
When did you get to sleep?
2:33, and that's what I talked to my fiance this morning. I said, honey, I'm not sure I actually slept last night. I heard my alarm go off, but I'm not sure I actually processed some actual decent sleep. And I'll eventually crash, but that's kind of how I operate. I just go wide open as hard as I can and try to give everything I can to what I do. So.
So then what was the response like? So when did you have to get up this morning to get into campus to get back to being a student?
Well, John, I do early. I'm the car greeter in the car line every morning at 7:15. So I've got a partner that I'm out there with, and I texted him last night at about 12:30, and I said, "Hey, Coach, I'm not going to make it at 7:15. It's going to be about 8 o'clock before I get here." So they cut me some slack, but they did save me some breakfast, and I was able to get here on time and check in, and it was just we moved a new trophy case into our foyer and got our nice little trophy with the soccer ball on top of it, and it was very nice to be able to come in and see all these happy faces and get the congratulations that my kids deserved. It was just very, very nice.
Class A D1 champ on the boys' side, Armuchee. Head coach Jason Park hanging out with us for another couple of minutes. Megan Hill from Buford coming up at quarter after the hour. And, you mentioned what it's been like to get to this particular moment. What we do on the football side, the FOOTBALL side, you know me from wearing makeup and a suit. So when we do that season, Hannah Gooden, Matt Stewart, and I do make that kid an offer.
Yeah.
And what we want to do there is introduce universities to student athletes that may not have the chance to be introduced or be thought of because of one thing or another. They're too short, too small, too slow. Their GPA and all that great. Test scores ain't all that great. Is there anybody there in that group of seniors or coming up the pipeline for you that would fit into that make that kid an offer category? We know that Gabe's going to shorter, but is there anybody else on the Armuchee roster that would fit that make that kid an offer category that you want to sit there and stand in the card line and go, no, you got to look at this person?
Yeah, we've probably got. I've got some kids that play club ball and do all that stuff. Mikey Aldana,
yes,
number 23. That kid puts on the show every time he walks out on that field. Leighton Brown is another great. He's a junior. Both those two guys are juniors. Angel Tapia, he's going to play at shorter with Gabe, but those two guys are absolutely phenomenal. Sebastian Castro, our little, it'd be our left back. The list goes on and on. Bryant Abney, all these kids are. I'll go to war for any of them, and they're good kids. They make good grades. They show up. They work hard.
Well, and that's what we love about it. Let me know when the championship gear goes on sale, because I'm going to be banging on doors from all the sporting goods stores in there at the school to add it to the stacks with everything here in Office HD.
Yes, sir.
Jason, congratulations. One of the first two championships of championship week. Go catch your breath, go get your lunch, and go get your nap in. Thanks for dropping by.
Yes, sir. Thank you, John.
All right, Jason Park, the head coach at Armuchee. He's a champ, and he's got the trophy and all of the things to prove it. All right, so now it's 12:13. We'll go ahead and punch this clock a little early. Jason Park from Armuchee, and we got a bunch of championships that are going on today. We'll go over the brackets coming up in just a little bit after this interview that we've got with Megan Hill coming up here from Buford. So let's go ahead and bring Megan Hill in and find out what's going on. So, Coach, what is getting ready for this one? What's it been like?
It's actually been a breath of fresh air, seeing as we actually have a little bit of time to recover between this one and the last two games that we ended up. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely true. The matchup against West Forsyth that we do need to talk about, because that was the gap game between our last conversations. But there was a topic that we talked about last time, and it's about your speed dial. And who is like number one on your speed dial from your history, and it's Jay Entlick down at Columbus State. True? Is he number one on your speed dial, short of maybe your parents?
Well, no, I mean, not speed dial. It's definitely my assistant coaches, but like when it comes to terms of like questioning myself or questioning what I should be doing as far as my coaching abilities, it's Jay.
Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and bring Jay in on the conversation?
That would be so fun.
Like right
now.
Yes! Oh, what's up, sister?
Oh my gosh, I was wondering why I wasn't hearing back from you.
Listen, I got a daughter graduating from high school, so we're at Mass like 4 times this week, and And, valedictorian's got a 4.63 GPA. And I'm going,
Golly.
if I times my GPA times 2, I still couldn't be valedictorian. You know? I mean, what's going on? What's up, sister? Are we
Oh
ready
my
to
gosh,
roll?
I miss you so much.
Are we ready to rock and roll, sister?
Listen, I hope so. I took from you, when I don't know if you were on here last or a podcast or whatever, but I have run with the two the L's of losing, like lack of knowledge and lack of effort.
Yeah, right.
So we have been full throttle with those two pieces there.
Okay. Well, we're going to McEachern. So listen, bud, I was there a year ago today, Mako. And my son's team captured a state championship. All right.
So awesome.
So it's going to happen. We got Don Martelli, one of your buds.
Yep.
He's won one. We got Miosha.
Yep.
Miosha Hatcher, or now Miosha Miller.
Yep.
At Northgate High School playing for a championship. And we got Megan Colts Hill playing for a championship. I love it. Let's go Cougs.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I buried the lead to make sure that Jay could join us for this particular segment, just because of the conversations that we've been having in the past. Jay, first impression of Megan when she first walked on campus would have been what?
Oh, gosh, it was lovely. We had some incredible moments down here together and some incredible games. And I'll tell you, we went through a lot. I feel like Megan had to grow up really, really fast. She was a young pup coming through the ropes and her first coaching role. And, man, we had some shenanigans down here. So I was like, does this happen all the time? I go, listen, it's college soccer, bud. Like, no holds barred. So, but now listen, we won a lot of games together and grew together. And, I think about life like this. Life's like a river, it's always moving. And, gosh, you just never know what's going to be at the end. Sometimes you're going to hit a couple rocks. Sometimes the rain's going to come down and make the river go a little faster. And, that's the world of soccer. It's a mystery, right? Like, it's awesome. It's awesome.
And Megan, I'd asked you what the first lesson was that you learned from Jay that stuck. And, now that you are where you are, having gone from the college ranks to the high school ranks in Gwinnett County, now you're at Buford. How many times do you reference back to what you learned there on the CSU campus as a part of your fabric as a head coach?
All the time. I told you this before, I think one of the biggest, most important things for my growing upness, as Jay calls it, is being able to run a session and create an effective practice plan. And I think, when I called Jay, and sometimes when we touch base, he's like, it's not always about like the drills, and you don't have to come up with the most, extravagant practice plan. It's about, can you effectively get your points across? You could play the same drill and focus on 4 different aspects of that drill in that moment. And I think for me, coming from, I see Jay as a mentor. I think that was super effective for me to grow as a coach. Now, he can tell you, and he's already mentioned it, when I was there as a GA and he threw me a practice plan, I was like, I can't do this. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was just coming out of school, and he was like, yeah, you're running a session. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Buckle up. So I think for me, that was huge, coming from there. And the standards and expectations, right? Like, nowadays, when I coached with Jay, that was, God, I don't even want to say how long ago it was, but it was almost, we're pushing 15 years. 16 years ago. And from there, coaching has evolved naturally, you could say, in a positive way or a negative way. But for me, and I don't know if Jay sees it, and I've talked to a couple of the other college coaches, Jason with UGA, like player-led teams are becoming fewer and far between. And so it's mostly coach-led. Unless you have some kind of like character development piece in there to try to grow them. But I think definitely, his standards, his expectations there was a hard line. And I have a hard line here, but there's also a massive difference between the college world and the high school world. Whereas like he can say, great, here's the hard line. I'm going to go find someone else. I'm like, okay, don't leave me. How can we, figure this out to where, we're on the same page, but you're wanting to play. Because in high school, especially if you are not at one of the top schools, the girls just don't play. They're like, I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to get injured. The coach doesn't know what they're talking about. And so I think for a lot of us high school coaches, that's what we have to deal with. But going back to your question, it was definitely standards expectations from Jay. And I have taken that. And I have all my Columbus State practice plans and Jay's practice plans still in my little filing cabinet over here. And sometimes I just go back in the archives when I'm stuck and I'm like, okay, what can we do here?
Nice. Love it.
Nothing like having see now, Megan, it sounds like Jay, do you have your practice plans still on pieces of paper and notepads and things tucked away, or are you electronic now?
It's all electronic. Yeah. There's our publisher. Yeah, it's no, John, it's all electronic now. And gosh, I've gotten to a point where I now print out 2 session plans. One that I post on the wall, and then a second one that the kids will walk out on the field and they will actually set up the field for us.
Oh, so wow.
They'll actually walk out and I'll have it mapped out that it's cones are every 20 yards. It's a 20 by 40 grid. And I need orange cones here, yellow cones there. And so each week a different family has to actually set the field up. So they actually go out there and they actually lay down the cones for us.
See, now, if you could get families to help lay out the cones, Megan, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Listen, we have packs. We're wolves. So
okay. Yeah.
We have our little packs. So we could definitely get that incorporated. I like that.
Yeah. And we actually just did combined with Auburn University and did a grassroots coaching license for our girls.
Oh, that's awesome.
A bunch of girls certified to coach. And in the end, like our role as educators and mentors is to hope that one day our players turn into coaches and leaders and mentors. So every little time that we can kind of help them grow a little bit, that's awesome.
Megan Hill at Buford, Jay Antlick at Columbus State hanging out with us here because I wanted to surprise Megan because Megan has been on Soccer is in Session on a regular basis. And I was like, okay, so she opened a door talking about Jay. And so I literally went to Jay and I'm like, Jay, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. When do you need me? And I said, well, this time he's like, yep, I'm in.
Yeah, I love you. Actually got me out of a lunch at Pacelli High School. My daughter actually graduated early back in December, but she's now going through the walking process. So we had a mass this morning.
Oh, wow.
Got all their awards. And then we were sitting at another award show. And I go, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going. You guys got me out of it. So it's perfect. It's perfect.
So, Megan, when you're in a championship week, how different do you try to make it from a normal week, even though, you try to keep it as normal as possible, knowing it's an abnormal week? How different has this week of prep been?
It hasn't been any different than the other games that we prepare for. Like I said, it's been nice to actually have our bodies rest from, the previous rounds. Yeah, from that. So my girls have actually been able to, take care of their bodies a little bit. But, and I'm sure Jay, is like when you get deeper into the season, practices become shorter and it's more talking. It's more, this is what we're going to be doing. This is, if this happens, then this is what we're going to do. And so, you're not out there for a 2.5-hour training session, the past 3 days. It's an hour and then a lot of dynamic stuff, a lot of stretching, a lot of taking care of bodies.
So Jay, how long did it take you to get that as kind of a philosophy where you're kind of you're not trimming the playbook, but you're trimming the time to focus on the playbook, especially as you're chasing after whether it's a conference title, national title, playoffs, postseason, that kind of a thing?
It's what's awesome, John, is our profession is a very, very small connected group. And so early on in my career, I had the luxury of networking and talking to guys like Anson Dorrance and Mark Krikorian. And, the first couple runs at it, I was coming up a little bit short. And I always questioned, what am I not doing right? And so I was able to visit with Mark, Anson, Steve Swans, a couple other guys that had won national championships. And they said, listen, the later you get in the season, you got to start to trim the workload a little bit and shorten the sessions. And you want kids to be hungry this late in the season. And if you're dragging them out and you're going, 2.5 hour sessions, the kids are like, I just want it to end. And the crazy part in soccer, whether it's high school or college, is, listen, John, there's a light switch. And the kids have every opportunity at any moment just to hit the switch and say, I want to be done. And so I think the more that you can kind of dangle the carrot and go, hey, today is going to be short, concise, 45-minute session, in, out, just let's be sharp. And then we're going to save the wear and tear on the body, and I think that's been super helpful for us. And again, we had a nice run this year. And, I think the hardest thing is, and I'm sure Megan will say this, but, people don't realize how hard it is to win that final game. A lot of stuff has to go right. And you could be the better team in the final. You could have more shots. Your XG could be higher. You could hit the crossbar. You could do everything right, but you just come up short. And so a lot of stuff has to go your way. And people don't realize, I think people forget sometimes, dude, the mountain is unbelievably hard to climb, but it's even harder to stay at the top. And I think what you find everywhere that Megan's been, she's constantly getting to the top. And she's constantly staying. Now, is she getting over the hump? Yeah. But there's going to be one moment that it does happen. And let's just hope it's in the next couple days. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. It is the 6A game that Jarrett Smith and I are going to be calling on the NFHS Network, Walton and Buford, 5 o'clock on the 15th of May, because the bracket says so. Therefore, it is the absolute truth. You've only given up 9 goals this year in 21 matches. That's insane. What's it like to have that kind of an insane defense and have an offense that has scored basically 5 goals a match going through 21? You've scored 100 on the dot this year.
I think a lot of it attributes to our defense, our back line. We have a lot of leadership. Remember, I talked to you before where I had 0 leadership at the beginning of this year. And I think that they've grown significantly over the past 4 months with a lot of the different, character things that we do. I think the leadership in my back line has grown a lot. And even in my midfield area, I think that they have grown a lot. And, I think even one of the things that I even tell them too, when I start to second guess myself of, should we be on the field right now? Is again, Jay going they're not going to forget how to play soccer in a day. So can you, and especially with the female mindset, you have to be able to coach in between the ears too, because that is just as much as important as the physical ability. And I think, sometimes I second guess oh my gosh, that game was so awful. We have to be able to, we need to go back out. We need to go train. We need to make sure we're focusing on this, and this, but it's maybe we need to go train inside first. So I think a lot of the mental training that we've been doing over the course of the several months has come, as you can see, from growth from my back line, which is nice to see.
Final advice, Jay Entlick, for Megan Hill going into a title game tomorrow afternoon.
Don't say unlucky ever.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. No, nobody's unlucky. There's no luck in sport, right? No, I think here's the thing. Sometimes we make games to be bigger than they need to be made, and we put undue pressure on kids, and it adds anxiety. Like we don't have to let them know they're playing in the championship. They all know that, right? Like their parents tell them. Everybody and their mother is telling them.
You're playing for a title. Come on.
Yeah, well, thanks, Captain Obvious. I
Yes.
appreciate that. So I think, look, it's a proper soccer game, and here are the tactics that we need to win. And this is another game. Yeah, it's important just as all the other ones were important to get here, but we can't put undue pressure on ourselves just because it's a title game. Right? Like this is a soccer match. If we do what we're supposed to do, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I think that's it. And, a lot of times, I just think too much pressure is put on kids. And again, we're dealing with, I don't know, Megan, you might have a 14-year-old on your team.
I do. I have one freshman.
Yeah, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe an 18-year-old. For that 14-year-old, they already have pressure, right? Pressure is a privilege.
Yes.
And I say that, man. We pick the bed we sleep in, John.
Yeah, huh?
So you chose to come to Buford, and Buford, if you don't win a championship, then people say it's a bad year.
Yep.
That's Buford athletics. Listen, bud, you chose to come here, so listen, let's just go out and win, and we'll silence the critics,
Yep. So, Megan, when I mentioned Walton to you and what Jason Page has done, what sticks in your head?
So we've battled Walton since I coached at Peachtree Ridge. It's been a knockout. All the time, it's always like they win or we win or they win. I mean, it's back and forth. And it's always Walton. It's always like, but Jason's good. The past 3 years, it's been, we advance, then they advance. So it's a back and forth battle of two great teams, I think. So it'll be a good competitive game for sure.
Yep, looking forward to it once again on the NFHS Network. Jarrett Smith and I will have the call from a teacher in 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Walton and Buford, right here on the bracket because the bracket says so. Jay, I can't thank you enough for coming and crashing the party and helping out with the interview with Megan.
Jay. You're getting a phone call next, sir.
I know. I called you. You called me, and I've been just going crazy with getting ready for camps and graduation.
I get it.
Graduation in high school is not
Parties.
a day.
It's insane.
It's not a day. It's a whole week.
Yes.
And I'm going, Katie, where are you going now? Going to Sunset. I had to go to school for a Viking walk.
Yep.
I never did any of that. I just was happy I graduated.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
Yeah.
Megan, thanks again for crashing the party. And Jay, as always, a great friend of us here at SDH. Just be safe, my friend. Love you very much. Love you both very much. And just don't be strangers. You got the keys to the kingdom and you got the garage door opener. Come on in anytime.
I appreciate you.
Guys.
Okay.
Bye. Go.
There goes Megan Hill. There goes Jay Entlick. And there we go. So to have those two together and Coach Bobby Jaworski, not wrong in his assessment. Coach Jay is an absolute legend. Bobby Jaworski at GMC Prep, another great friend to us here at SDH. And so that's your rundown. That was the way to kind of run around and do the rundown of your 6A girls matchups. Considering we had Coach Page on yesterday, if you missed it, let me flip the logo back. If you missed it yesterday on the morning show, we actually had the opportunity to catch up with a bunch of coaches that are getting ready for championships here this week here in the state of Georgia. And we caught up with Coach Page yesterday right off the top of the show. So you can go back onto our YouTube channel and you can watch the video version of our conversation that we had with Coach Page, or you can go back and listen on your favorite podcatcher and go back and find SDHAM from yesterday and find the conversation that we had with him there. Yesterday, we also caught up with Judson Hamby at Coney County. We caught up with Coach Hellier at Whitfield Academy, caught up with Coach Holt at ACA, Connor Domaleski at LOA, and Coach Kearns at Lovett. So you can have any of those conversations from yesterday's SDHAM that turned into an astronomically large Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily live morning show. And then on In Session at the noon, we had Molly McCarty from Jefferson, Frank Zamora from Johnson Gainesville, and Coach Conley from Campbell. So you can catch all of those interviews that we've done this week, and you can catch them video form, audio form across the network, and they're always going to be there in their forms. Tajay Higgins, the head coach of Sprayberry, coming up in about 10 minutes, and we'll talk about his season to date and find out what it's going to be like going up against River Ridge in the championship coming up in a short order. So yesterday we had the two finals yesterday that we broke down, and it was just chaos in the boys matchup, and our buddy Jeff Gable was there covering both. So it was Armuchee's athletic director Shane Arp said school had won titles in cross country and wrestling, first championship in football, basketball, baseball, or soccer, first state title for Armuchee since competition cheer and boys cross country won in 22 and 23. So it was a big day for Armuchee yesterday. 25 shots, 15 on target. Thomasville keeper Connor Pringle had 11 saves. And we mentioned once again, title was the first for a soccer team in the Rome-Floyd County area since Darlington boys tied for the state title in 1971. The game before that, Model shut out Bremen to win their first ever state title. 2 goals from Molly Allman, shutout from Maddie Green to get the win in the Class A D1 Girls Championship. State semis on multiple occasions, including last year, first state title in the 28-year history of the Model Girls program. So Jordan Merritt, the only senior on Model's roster, the only senior, was caught up. Jeff Gable caught up with her after the match. And the only senior, 17-1, 12 shutouts, 5 straight shutouts in the state tournament, outscoring their opponents 80-8. We mentioned 100-9 on the Buford side. Model on their win and for head coach Lauren Jones, 80-8. That's the margin that you saw with Class A D1 girls. Bremen finished 17-4 on the season, and they were chasing after their first title as well. So that's what's going on. That's what happened yesterday at McEachern. Buford got through West Forsyth. They got through Brookwood. And so, yeah, gee, thanks. 2 top 5 teams, 3 top 5 teams basically in a triangle going up against each other, right-hand side of the bracket, 6A girls. Insane. So Armuchee gets the win as the number 4 ranked team number 4 in Class A D1 boys. So a big win for them as they get the title. So what's going to happen today? Well, we'll tell you, because I have to look in the middle and look for the bracket, and it says May 14. So we're going to go and check out what's going to happen on May the 14th in all of our in all of our brackets. And a lot of it is anchored in Class AAA. And in AAA, it was where we spent a lot of our time because of the quality of the matchups across the board. Both going to be at McEachern, 5 and 7:30 today, once again, on the NFHS network. And we mentioned Molly McCarty and Judson Hamby. That is going to be one of the biggest matchups across the board. State of Georgia, regardless of classification. Today, 5 and 7:30, both AAA matchups, but AAA girls to start things off. It is Jefferson, Team 1, ranked number 1, shut out East Hall, shut out Lumpkin County, shut out Dawson County, beat Cherokee Bluff by the score of 5-2. So they gave up 2 goals in the postseason, and it was in the last round. That matchup we had on the network, and you can go back and listen to that one as you get ready for Jefferson and Oconee County. Oconee County, we had their matchup against Johnson Gainesville on our air, and that was number 5 versus number 10. Oconee County, Team 15, which is not a Team 15. I mean, just power rankings being what they are and all things being equal, Oconee County is not a Team 15. So Oconee County shut out Johnson Gainesville's girls, shut out Harlem's girls, beat Sandy Creek, and then beat Whitewater by the score of 3-1. That match was on the network as well. Jason, Maddie, and Sophia Cupertino were down at Whitewater for that one. So that's how Jefferson and Oconee County got the chance to take on each other in the last game of the year, Class AAA girls. Class AAA boys, Johnson Gainesville, once again, we caught up with Frank Zamora yesterday as well on Soccer is in Session on the noon show. And so Johnson Gainesville, they take on Northwest Whitfield, and Northwest Whitfield prevented, as did Johnson Gainesville, the opportunity for Oconee County and Jefferson to play each other twice. So Jefferson was against Northwest Whitfield on the left-hand side of the bracket. Northwest Whitfield won that one, and then they beat Gilmer County the round before. Then they shut out Jenkins, and they beat as ranked number 1 Team 8 in the power rankings. Beat Sandy Creek in round number 1. Johnson Gainesville shut out Oconee County in the round before 2-0. Then once again we talk about the quick turn for Johnson Gainesville, and it was for Johnson Gainesville on the boys' side, ranked number 4 Team 10. Shut out Groves. Took 4 days for them to beat Calhoun. And I'm not saying that because it took like 98 rounds of PKs or anything and they violated, curfews. But because of the weather that we had there on that May the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, took them 4 days to complete Calhoun and Johnson Gainesville. Then they had to play the next day. They played on the 5th at Calhoun, came back, played Johnson Gainesville and Chestatee the next day at the Dungeon for the 3-1 win. Then they beat Oconee County and Watkinsville in the semis to get through. And so the AAA boys broadcast NFHS network, it is going to be Johnson Gainesville and Northwest Whitfield from what we've seen with Coach Gutierrez. Private boys, that is going on today, as well as private girls. Jessica Charman is going to be on the call for those this afternoon and evening at Duluth High School, 5 o'clock and 7:30. It's going to be Lovett and GAC. Coach Graves, nationally ranked with GAC, knocking off Whitfield Academy to the right-hand side of the bracket. Shut out Calvary Day, shut out Darlington, shut out St. Francis. And so they have not given up a goal in the postseason going up against the Lovett team. Once again, remember we caught up with Coach Kearns yesterday in SDHAM, where Lovett shut out Holy Innocents, gave up 1 to Wesleyan. A lot of folks were surprised by the margin of victory in that one, considering that Wesleyan was top ranked in team number 4. Lovett coming all the way through as team number 5, ranked number 3. Shut out Kingsridge, shut out Fellowship, beat Wesleyan handily, and then they shut out Holy Innocents. And so that's how you end up with private girls being Lovett and GAC, 5 o'clock this afternoon at Duluth High School. 7:30 tonight. After that one, private boys championship. It is Whitfield Academy and AIS. Now, once again, catching up with Coach Hellier yesterday, we got to find out what the season's been like at Whitfield Academy. AIS, Team 4, ranked number 4, low left-hand side of the bracket as you're following through. Had a bye in the first round. Then they beat Landmark, shut out Mount Vernon, and then hosted Paideia and beat Paideia, Team 16, to get to the championship game. That's how AIS made it to the last game of the year coming out of the left-hand side. Then Whitfield Academy on the right-hand side. It was ranked number 6, Team 11, shut out North Cobb Christian, had to go to PKs, and they persevered there, knocking off Lovett, who was team number 6. So they had to go to the Lovett school to get that win. Then they go to Providence Christian, knock off team number 3, ranked number 3. Then they beat Hebron Christian, team number 2, ranked number 2. So Whitfield Academy's path to get to the last game of the year as team number 6, ranked number 6, upset team number 6 in Lovett, then beat the number 3 ranked team and the number 2 ranked team to take on the number 4 ranked team. Once again, Jess Charman is a part of the broadcast crew there on the private side on the boys after the completion of the private girls match with Lovett and GAC. It's AIS and Whitfield Academy. That's what you got on the private boys side. That is today. Today we also introduce, we're a day away from what's going to happen at Mercer-Macon. And so Mateen Rod is going to be on the call for those there. So that is your rundown of everything that is going to be happening today as we get you ready for all of the activity. And once again, we mentioned 6A girls. That one's going to be tomorrow afternoon at McEachern. So it's going to be today. Private boys and girls, that one's at Duluth. Private boys and girls is at Duluth today. AAA boys and girls is at McEachern today. So that's where that's your 4 matchups that are going to be happening at 5 and 7:30 today on the NFHS network. So looking forward to telling those stories and waking coaches up and calling their schools first thing in the morning again tomorrow to try and find out what the day was like as they were chasing after state championships. And so it's very, very cool to have coaches who are more than willing to answer the phone and answer repeated emails and find out what's going on. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to check in life in 5A and find out what's going on with our friends at Sprayberry and what the word is with Coach Higgins, and find out what's up with him as he's getting ready for yet another national matchup with them getting ready for River Ridge. Coach Higgins, what do you know? What's the word?
Hey, how are you doing, John?
You tell me. You're the one chasing after a title.
Yeah, we trying, we trying hard to cross the line this time around.
Yep. And so once again, I grabbed my bracket, and we're catching you 2 days before your matchup, because since the bracket says Duluth High School 7:30 on the 16th, that is the absolute truth. It's Duluth High School on the 16th at 7:30 going up against River Ridge. You and I caught up for the Johns Creek matchup. Now that you've had a couple of days to kind of decompress and look at that 6-2 win that you had there at Johns Creek, what are some of your takeaways there from the semifinal?
I mean, it was a great game. Going up against Coach Kelly. Coach Kelly is a great coach. I know him very well. It's always a pleasure going up against them. We know going up against a team like Johns Creek, they're always going to be tactically disciplined. They're always going to be a team that can hurt you in so many different ways. So it's important that for the boys, we were prepared in every case scenario in the different ways that they can hurt us. And it was very important for us to kind of, manage our emotions when it comes to a high tempo game like that, because when we played them last year, they did beat us at home. And that was a game that decided the region championship. So for us, it was something that, I had to remind the boys to just keep our emotions intact and just, stay true to our identity and how we want to play and not stray away from the very simple principles that have brought us this far.
18-2 on the season, 5-2 in region. You were the number 2 team coming out of your region. So you're ranked number 3 and your region's number 2 out of region number 6. There was a moment in the game in the second half where it was 3-2 and there was a penalty shout. And so you had your keeper, Carson Jones, come up big with the save. And I think, at least from just me internally, I thought that was a big momentum shift.
Yep.
Second half, where Carson comes up big, keeps it at 3-2, where Samak Leao doesn't even it up there on campus for a home game, and then everything just seemed to switch. And in transition, your speed was just absolutely deadly, and Johns Creek was having to chase at that moment. But I thought that the PK save that Carson had kind of flipped the game for you emotionally and reinforced what you were trying to get done.
Yeah, so that's actually his second PK save of the season, actually. We know of Carson's ability. We know of his ability in regards to that. As a coach, obviously, you're very nervous whenever it comes to PK. So it was tough seeing that. But with that save, regardless of whether it went in, the boys had that belief, because going down 1-0, you could see from the get-go they weren't fazed at all. Like, there was no discontent. There was nothing. They were not fazed, because we knew deep down we have the capability of scoring, and we know our ability. And the biggest thing that we've stressed on all season is just having that belief that we can go back to the state championship and believe that we can actually cross that line. So heading into a game like that, for these boys, it was more than just a game for them. It was just trying to get through and trying to finish the job, because they feel as if we have some form of unfinished business with getting back to the state championship and trying to see if we can actually cross that line.
And I know that for those that believe in Greek mythology, there is a 3-headed monster known as the Hydra. And you have that on campus this year with your offense. When you look at Mosiah Brown, who's at 19-7, you have Cruz, who's at 18-24, which is just staggering to me when you think about that. When he's that well balanced, Eric Cruz at 18-24, and then when you have Jean-Marcel Sylvain, who has 14-15. What's it like to see the three of them work in harmony to get the results offensively that you've been trying to chase after?
So before I even touch on that, a fun fact, Eric Cruz is actually 1 goal or assist away from hitting a century in terms of goal contribution for Sprayberry.
Wow.
And, that's a testament to the work that he has put in. The last, this is my second year here, and, when I came in, he was one of the first players that I spoke to, and I told him, I'm like, dude, you have immense talent, in terms of what you can do for this team. And he's taken everything under his wings. He's worked so hard. In the last 2 years, he had 77 goal contribution in the last 2 years. That's insane. And playing as a center mid. So with those three guys, it's not even just so about those three guys, because we have another freshman kid, Kawa Sequeira, who that kid he's a stud. Stats did not show much of that this year, because for the most part he got hurt and missed a couple key games just as he was finding a bit of form. So it's just a dynamic that we have up top from those four guys, where we can get goals in so many different areas. We can hurt teams in so many different ways with those three guys, and they have that understanding. They have that chemistry of just being able to feed off and work off each other, and it's just their movement. Once they get going, it's difficult for those four to stop. As a coach, I would hate playing against those four guys, on their day, but it's just immense talent, and I got to credit those four boys for the hard work that they've put in this season. Not to take anything else from the other guys, because the guys behind them has played a very good role as well in supplying and providing that balance. Balance is key to everything. So it's not just about our offense going forward. Defensively as a team, for the most part, we've been very, very solid throughout the year.
Yeah, Sequeira, by the way, 7-5 this year in his contributions, even with the injuries. And you mentioned your defense, and I wanted to have you brag on them a little bit, knowing that with what you've been able to accomplish this season, 20 matches, 21 goals. You've won 10 in a row going in, but so a goal a match on average. Obviously you've got your clean sheets that Carson has to mix in with that. But what's it been like to see this defense respond in front of Carson the way that they have?
They've responded a lot better. The crazy thing that a lot of people don't know about our team from last season, especially, we started out last season with one natural defender, which was Gavin Crow, because I inherited a team that lost pretty much the entire back line. So we had to kind of build from scratch. So like Cabran DeWitt was playing a bit out of position. He sacrificed for the team last year in playing as a center back. This year, with the addition of Charlie Fleming and Leighton Turner, they've made our back line a lot more stable. Obviously, there's games where we felt we could have kept a little bit more clean sheets. We could have defended a little bit better, but it's always working process, and we always have to look at the positive from that. But overall, they've been solid all season. They work well together. They communicate. They balance out each other. And the important thing with it as well is it's not just a matter about their defending. Like, you have a couple of them that have been contributing offensively as well. I think Jaden has probably 4 assists. Gavin has come up huge with a couple of goals. Charlie came up with a crucial assist against River Ridge when we played them in region play. So, they're not just contributing to the team defensively. Even Carson, I believe, had an assist this season as well. So, from that standpoint, they have been pulling their weight and showing. And it's just a testament to these boys that, when they come together and everything is clicking on all cylinders, they can do damage. So it just falls down to their mindset and having that belief that we can go out and perform.
And then you got Jaden Okudwale on the left-hand side as well. That's a part of that back line contributing. Now you got River Ridge. Everybody's sitting there pointing at that one going, everybody's going, ooh, River Ridge and Sprayberry. When you're going up for this one, how much time do you spend on yourself? How much time do you spend on River Ridge, considering that you kind of know each other right now?
I mean, it's one of those things that you have to balance. So even when we played them the first time this season, for me, I went all the way back to the state championship to look at, things that we did wrong against them. For me, losing that championship to them last year, it's how you take that loss. And for me, I took that loss, and we just looked to assess how we can move forward. So we looked back at that game to see some of the things that we could have done a little bit better and tackle that inter-region play. And it's always, I told the boys at the beginning of the season, if you want to win a state championship, I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to beat River Ridge twice. Because they're the team to beat. And, they're a great team. They're very well coached. It's 3 years now that they've been to the state championship, 3 years in a row. That's a testament to the coaches that they have and the quality of players that they have. So, they're a very good, very, very good team. So it has to be a balance of us, looking at some of the things that they done in areas of weakness and vulnerabilities, but also looking at the little things that we can tweak and the little things that we can fine tune to properly prepare us for that battle.
Played them back on the 17th, January, February, March, April. So about a month ago, had a 3-1 win in that one. How I guess, knowing that you're going to have to beat them twice, and you told your team that coming in, how do you learn from a win, not get wrapped up in the fact that you've beaten them once already, and know that they're coming after you in the last game of the year for a state championship? So I guess, how do you take the information, not dwell on it, take the positives from it, and apply it forward, I guess is what I'm saying.
One of the key things that we gotta separate the emotions. I think that's what got to us last year. The emotions we didn't deal with that well enough. Given that this is probably the biggest game that a lot of these boys have ever played in, and it's just a matter of us managing the emotions and then just refocusing and understanding that there's a job to be done. That's part one. Beating them there. That's part one. There's a bigger picture of the bigger picture is this Friday. So it's just locking in and gearing in on that and refocusing and, trying to separate the emotions, trying to block out the outside noise and just trying to focus on exactly what we have to do as a team. The key thing for us is just doing the right things.
And we're looking forward to it because right here, Sprayberry, River Ridge, right there in the middle of the bracket, right there, Sprayberry and River Ridge, or at least in my handwriting, it says Spray and RR. So that's I couldn't quite fit everything on the line. It was great to see you against Johns Creek. It's going to be a treat to have you in this matchup against River Ridge coming up on 2 days' time at Duluth High School at 7:30. Can't thank you enough for taking time during your lunch hour, especially as you're trying to chase after a championship, to hang out and then break everything down for folks. Thanks for being a part of the noon show here. We'll be keeping an eye on the 5A title game, Coach. It's great to see you, and don't be a stranger, my friend.
Great to see you, man. It's a pleasure being here. Anytime you want me, just let me know, and I'll try to make time for you. But it's a pleasure being here and pleasure having you call the game. So, It
was great to see you, my friend. Just be safe and go get some lunch.
All right. Thank you. You have a good one.
All right. Tajay Higgins, head coach at Sprayberry. So that's the rundown. It was great to catch up with him. Like I said, we had the matchup against Johns Creek on the network. You can go back and listen to that. But, yeah, I thought that the keeper, when you have a keeper make a PK save at 3-2, that kind of flipped everything. Samak Leao he was saved and then tried to get the rebound in, didn't happen. It was that close to being 3-3, and I think the game could have gone a lot differently, at least in the emotional sense, engaging emotions and things like that from that moment forward. But it was great to catch up with Coach Higgins. Great to catch up with Jay Entlick as we kind of caught up with Megan Hill as she's getting ready for Buford and Walton. And also it was great to catch up with Coach Page as he's trying to recover from winning a state championship at Armuchee. So that's always fun to catch up with things. So once again, remember, today is private boys, private girls, AAA boys, AAA girls. If you're on the eastern side of town in Gwinnett County, private girls, Levitt and GACs at 5 o'clock. After that one, it's AIS and Whitfield Academy on the boys' side. Those will be decided today. Then, on the flip side, at McEachern, it is going to be Northwest Whitfield and Johnson Gainesville at 7:30 on the boys' side. Coach Gutierrez, Coach Zamora in that one. With Northwest Whitfield coming out of the upper left, Johnson Gainesville coming out of the lower right. And then AAA girls. I cannot impress upon you enough that this is going to be a heavyweight battle. It is heavyweights of heavyweights, blue bloods of programs. Molly McCarty at Jefferson, Judson Hamby at Oconee County. If you're anywhere near McEachern at 5 o'clock this afternoon, go see this match. You can watch it on the NFHS network. and it's going to be fun to see what happens with this matchup. I think Justin Hanover is going to have the call in the AAA games over at McEachern, so keep an eye on that. And it's hang on just a second. Let me see who's going to be calling the matches with Jessica Charman on the private side. So let me see if we can find out. Okay, so it is, if we trigger the email here. All right, so it is going to be, Justin is going to be calling the AAA games at McEachern. Daniel Summerfield and Jessica Charman are going to be calling the games on the private side at Duluth. So that's your rundown today. Justin Hanover is calling the 3A matches at McEachern, and then Daniel Summerfield and Jessica Charman calling the private matches at Duluth. 5 and 7:30. It is once again McEachern, AAA. Private is Daniel Summerfield and Jessica Charman over at Duluth. So if you're near either of those two venues tomorrow or today, and tomorrow even, or the rest of the week, go watch. We'll talk about them tomorrow on the morning show a little bit, and we'll come back with Soccer is in Session as we chase after champions and find out what it's like for champions to be champions. We'll catch up with all that stuff there. As always, once again, thanks for being a part of everything here at SDH. It's another go-round of Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends, Kaiser Permanente. Since it's the end of the show, mucho platiel, play it safe. That means I get to do this. Back at it again tonight, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Abe Gordon and myself pre and post. Mike and Jason are going to have the call for you. Kick at 9:10 Eastern Time, 11:15 Eastern Time. Unified Team, atlutd.com/live. It's going to be a late night for folks in Austin, Texas, and it's going to be a fun night across the board as well. Back at it again after that, 9:05 tomorrow morning. We're going to be visited maybe by Maddie at Bergstrom International as she's waiting for a flight home. Todd Lewis from the Free Kick Podcast to break down everything Philadelphia Union that happens tonight and apply it to what's going to happen this weekend. And then the Power Hour, Nino Torres from Goal TV and Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. Mucho platiel, play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll be back at it sooner before you know it.